Welcome back, everybody, to another edition of breaking down the Jun-Yushos of the Hatsu Basho. I probably should have written out something to say in this intro instead of just going freeform, but hey, you know what? We ball. Last week we covered Takakeisho. Next week, who do I have on my schedule? We're going to be covering Koto Shoujo, because those were the two Jun-Yusho winners. And I wanted to prioritize Kiribayama here, because Kiribayama, and I keep saying it over and over again, so some of you who do religiously watch my content might be tired of it by now, but Kiribayama is someone that I feel is a very strong Rikishi. He's been very underrated because for the past few tournaments, he's been, getting 9 and 6s, 8 and 7s, not really looking so strong that, he looks like the future Ozeki or anything, but I do think that he could be the possible future Ozeki here, possibly, coming off of an 11-win record. He does have a good step up, and, I'm not going to say he has a good shot for Ozeki this next tournament, but it's a good step in the right direction, a good next step in the right direction, because 11 wins means, hey, now he's actually moving up to Sekiwake. It's like a 99% chance that it is, and we will find out Monday. So this video will be releasing the 25th of February. Monday is the 27th. We should find out then where everybody is going to fall. And, well, Kiribayama, 10 plus wins as a komusubi usually puts you up to Sekiwake. And again, the Banzuke is a living thing. We won't actually know what's going on with it, but I do think with Kiribayama's 11 wins, he has a shot at Ozeki. Probably not going to get a 14-1 Yusho, but he will have another good record. And I really hope he does, because he's been a strong Rikishi. He's been a solid Rikishi. And I think he deserves a little bit more respect when people talk about him, because, people are hyped about Hoshoryu and Wakatakakage, and even Wakamotoharu is getting more talk than Kiribayama, and that's because Wakamotoharu is Wakatakakage's brother. And, of course, it's really cool to have two brothers up in the Sanyaku. I never even thought Wakamotoharu would get this far, but I feel like a lot of people are just glossing over Kiribayama, because like, oh yeah, he's another Mongolian in the Sanyaku, he's doing okay. And it's not like he's Abi, where his okay is just 8 and 7, 8 and 7, 8 and 7, 8 and 7 from Komusubi in, like, what was that, 2018, 2019? He had a good streak of just getting a low winning record. I've been saying for a while Kiribayama is strong. He goes toe-to-toe with Teruno Fuji, and even though Teruno Fuji has his number, hasn't lost to Kiribayama, which I need to fact check, Kiribayama takes it. He goes toe-to-toe with the Yokozuna. He goes toe-to-toe with everybody he comes across, and him finally getting this 11 wins is him finally growing into someone who can contend for the Yusho. And it's been a slow grind up there, but it's finally here, and I really hope this consistency can stay its course. And we're going to take the time in this video to show how he got those 11 wins, why he is so good, why I like him so much. And the color key is going to be as follows: blue for Kiribayama, pink for everybody else. And I know I switch the colors every single time, but it's because I'm inconsistent, and we can all deal with that. But this first match is going to be against Tamawashi, and, well, Yotsuzumo guy going up against Oshizumo guy. It's either grab the belt or lose. So what does Kiribayama do here? We're going to go through it at full speed first, and then we'll walk through it step by step, maybe even slow it down, because a consequence of making these 15-day roundup videos is the fact that I can actually slow it down and go frame by frame on YouTube, which, why didn't I ever think of this before? Here we go. But like my co-commentator said, here we go. Tamawashi going high. Kiribayama fighting Oshi versus Oshi. You might be hearing my phone vibrate because it is ringing. And as Kiribayama pushes forward, he keeps... I think his foot might have claims management. I don't know what that is. He keeps his footing on the Tawara, and there's a very long mono-e about it. The mono-e results in the Kiribayama win because he keeps that foot up on the Tawara. But even far before that, we need to break down how he gets it. So I'm going to go through it full speed again because I was distracted by my phone ringing.
Here we go!
But Kiribayama getting pushed back, hands to the face for Tamawashi, but Kiribayama turns him to the side and fights Oshi versus Oshi, and by the time he finally gets those hands inside, that's when he can push forward for the win right there. We don't have to talk about, you know, the tippy toes up on the Tawara for the win, turning gravity off and all of that sort of thing. But the most important thing to look for in this match is how fast Kiribayama's hands are. Because like I said, Tamawashi Oshizumo goes high, hands straight to the throat, and that's where he usually succeeds. But Kiribayama has this very solid base underneath him. His feet, you know, solid in the ground. He's leaning forward, so these pushes up to his face would only push him back up to a standing position. So he's got some good defensive start here. And then as he turns Tamawashi to the side, this is where, again, watch those hands because they're going to be flying inside, outside to try to get that inside grip, and he's constantly switching it back and forth. And this is what puts Tamawashi on the back foot, because as we continue forward into the match, you can see Kiribayama tries to go for the outside grip on the belt right there, but pushed away. Now he tries to go for the outside grip on the right side, gets pushed away, tries to go inside, pushing forward. Tamawashi, his hands aren't fast enough to keep up on the defense that he needs to put out in order to defend himself from all these attacks. So eventually Kiribayama gets the pull down, or rather attempts a pull down, hand to the back of the head, uses this opportunity to slip the left hand inside onto the belt, except he loses it, and now he's going for the right or the left outside on the belt. It's just bing, bang, boom. He's trying to go inside, shifts his shoulders back and forth so he can go outside, shifts the shoulders back so he can go outside over here. It's just constant shifting of momentum that throws Tamawashi off, because again, Tamawashi can't keep up with it. Even in like this 5-second span, outside left, outside right, inside left, outside right, inside left, and then finally getting the inside left. And I think the inside right is also here too, which is why Tamawashi is pulling back in the first place to try to retreat from that attack. But that's where he finally gets it. He breaks the defense of Tamawashi and uses that to push forward for the win. Double inside, hands under the armpits. And again, it was pretty magnificent the way he stays up on one individual tippy toe foot, hopping that one foot onto the Tawara, the side of the foot right there. Incredible footwork from Kiribayama, and just insane resilience to even attempt something like this. Amazing work for Kiribayama, and you know, it pays off with a really strong win. And that phone call I had was apparently not important because they didn't leave a voicemail. So overall, like, this first match, it really shows you the speed of Kiribayama's hands, and even when going up against a veteran like Tamawashi, really taking advantage of Tamawashi's lack of speed, lack of quickness. And honestly, that's not a problem I ever really thought about Tamawashi having. Usually it's just, oh, the other person was more powerful, or oh, the other person just had a better tachi-ai. But here, it was at the midway point of the match that Kiribayama was able to turn it around by constantly shifting back and forth to try to find the good offense, and Tamawashi simply could not keep up. And that's something that we're going to need to remember going into the next few matches of this tournament. Oh, right, it was a Tori-naoshi, my mistake. So on round 2 of the match,
Here you go, round 2.
what happens here? Honestly, I forgot this happened. What happens in round 2? Tamawashi with a strong push, but gives up the double inside immediately, trying to pull back in defense and throwing Tamawashi to the ground. Throwing Kiribayama to the ground. I completely forgot about that Tori-naoshi, honestly. Ooh, that's my mistake. Wow. This only happened a month ago. But here, again, let's take it a step back. Let's throw out a little bit of what I said earlier. That, you know, that power. Because again, I completely forgot that this Tori-naoshi even happens. And now all my viewers are leaving because it's like, oh man, this guy doesn't even remember what happened. I bet he doesn't even remember what he had for breakfast. And it's true, I don't. But round 2 of a Kiribayama Tamawashi. Kiribayama does get the double inside, but as Tamawashi, you know, gets the grip with the double outside, he uses this opportunity to pull back. And when he pulls back, Kiribayama is the one that needs to try to keep his feet under him so he doesn't fall forward immediately. You can see him shuffling these feet to try to keep up with Tamawashi's retreat, and you can even see him pulling the hip back, pulling the shoulder back, so he could try to go for the throw right here with the outside arm, which also has the double duty of breaking that inside right grip from Kiribayama. When that doesn't initially work, Kiribayama gets turned the other way, and it's one of those momentum games. Just 2 seconds ago, he was being thrown to the right. Now he's being thrown to the left in this, you know, rocking back and forth scenario, and that's really going to throw you off your balance. And it does, because here we can see Tamawashi has the left hand straight to the armpit right there, and he's going to use that again, twisting the body. He's twisting his hips, twisting the shoulders, and he was just going in the opposite direction before, so he's using, you know, that momentum. Like how when you want to spin a top, you'll spin it to the left a little bit, and then you'll go boom. Like that's kind of what's happening here, except he's doing that with his shoulders and waist. Feet not exactly underneath him, but that's how you need to go for that throw in this negative position. And then Tamawashi keeps his feet underneath him, gets the win over Kiribayama. And now I have to go back before I publish some of my other videos, which should already be published by now, to make sure that I'm not a liar in those about Kiribayama getting a win he didn't even get. So here we go, day 2, Kiribayama 0-1, should be 1-0, probably should. But you know, the side of that foot does count as not the sole of your foot, so he does lose there. But Kiribayama coming in with an 0-1. Takayasu, his opponent here. Takayasu, we know, does leave the tournament a little bit later, so we can debate on whether or not Takayasu is just generally weaker in this tournament, or if he's fighting through injury, or we don't really know, but that is something to consider. So in this fight, Kiribayama and Takayasu, Kiribayama taking the sidestep at the Tachi-ai to blast Takayasu to the side, uses that to push Takayasu to the edge, and after a lot of solid defense, Takayasu finally folds, and Kiribayama gets his Shonichi. So the most important thing in this match happens right at the Tachi-ai, and it's going to happen right there. Instead of, well, it's a two-parter here. Takayasu goes really high, and you know, he usually does put these 2 forearms down in front so he can scoop up, but he's also going a little to the left. You can see his hips are going to the left, or you know, what's the word? He's stancing up to the left. He's facing the left. His hips and his shoulders are going this way, and that's also due to the part of Kiribayama. He took this step to the outside so he could shift his hips this way, shift the shoulders this way, get a good solid push to the rib cage of Takayasu right here so he can deflect this attack of Takayasu. So instead of taking it all head on, it's just going, you know, out to the side in this off direction this way, where the only thing Takayasu is going to be hitting is, you know, Kiribayama's head, which is still a powerful attack, but it's not the full charge that he wanted. To follow up with this, Kiribayama keeps his hand to the side right here, keeps the hand so he can keep trying to push this way, and now he just needs to get the feet underneath him to follow up, but Takayasu is going to turn those hips back. He pivots on this back foot over here and even does take a step back, pivots so he can now square up and catch the attacker coming at him. But Kiribayama, because he kept that left hand on Takayasu, he's still already on top of him. And, you know, if you wanted to zoom in right here, this is a really good face Takayasu is making. That's a funny face right there. But a follow-up from Kiribayama, he's going to have a few of these thrusts deflected in the inside here. And this, I think, is a little bit of a weakness here. It might just be this one match, but I feel like his legs are too straight. Like, I feel like his hips could be a little bit lower, and with that, his shoulders would be a little bit lower, and he'd be able to push up stronger with a bit more leverage. But he might have thought, oh, I have him reeling. Let's just try to get to the attack as fast as we can. And, I mean, he does slowly lower these shoulders because you could see on this inside right under the elbow of Takayasu, he's pushing that up. So he needs to get down so he can get that leverage up and get Takayasu off balance, which that is not an arrow. I have no idea what I just did there. So after this happens, Takayasu, again, getting pushed back to the edge, attempted a grip, but Kiribayama, very interestingly, uses these forearms to throw Takayasu to the side. And I gotta say, that's not something I've seen too often before. This left forearm gets locked around the right inside forearm of Takayasu, and then this right forearm under the armpit to toss Takayasu to the side, because he's going to lift both of these arms up and use them to throw, as soon as we get this frame by frame going, uses them to toss Takayasu to the side. And that is going to throw Takayasu off balance right here. After this happens, Takayasu stumbling to the side. Now he has to put up a really, poor defense, but it's the best one he can try to muster. He's got this back leg straight on the Tawada to try to stop all the momentum. He's got to lower this shoulder so he could charge forward into Kiribayama with it and try to re-square himself. Because at this point, if he were to, like he did earlier, pull this foot back and pivot on this one, then both of his feet are on the Tawada, which is okay for defense, but Kiribayama has a hand to the throat right here. So if Takayasu does voluntarily pull himself back, he will just be pushed up and out of the ring by the throat. So Takayasu does indeed pivot back, but immediately puts this left foot forward. Like, he stepped it back and then immediately pushes forward again, using that left shoulder to push forward, breaking the grip of Kiribayama. Kiribayama, now he has to follow up, scooping this right hand up to get Takayasu's left hand off the face, and then just doing that again to parry the attack, keep pushing forward with this left forearm inside that you can kind of barely see going up to Takayasu's chest. And it's going to be with that and with these deflections that Kiribayama is going to be able to finally push forward for the win.
At the edge, pushed out, tumbling out of the ring.
That was a very exciting match both ways. Very powerful sumo from both men here. And, that's one of these matches that I'd love to see for years to come. But Takayasu, out for injury, going to be at the bottom of the Banzuke, or at least closer to the middle at least. And, Kiribayama, solid sumo right there. He had two good sumo days. The Tori-naoshi match, definitely not one of his better ones, but that first match, fantastically done. The second match, really well done. Pardon me, it is a bit stuffy in here. And now he's going to be going up against fellow komusubi Wakamotoharu. Wakamotoharu being the debutante that I said earlier, people are a lot more excited for because, two brothers in Sanyaku. That's awesome. Kiribayama, though, here to spoil the fun.
Kiribayama, Wakamotoharu.
Kiribayama with a nice low charge, gets the solid push, big left hand to the face, pulls back, or the slap down. Complete control, complete domination, really no hope for Wakamotoharu here, and it's as simple as winning off the Tachi Eye. Because right here off the Tachi Eye, Kiribayama it's not the finishing position, but he's going to use this inside right to push Wakamotoharu up and then follow up with the left hand to the throat. Wakamotoharu looks like he tried to attack the outside here, but it looks like Kiribayama was already going in that direction because you could see this foot is outside the white line and you have to take that step. So they both kind of circle each other a bit because we could see this left foot went outside, his left foot went outside, and that's just going to, you know, they're matching each other at the tachi-ai as it is. And from here, it's going to be who is more powerful, who is stronger. And it is from here that Wakamotoharu gets popped up and Kiribayama is able to keep this hand up high. Whereas Wakamotoharu, his attack down low and to the outside, those are not positions where you can really keep your hand and keep pressure. And it's because Kiribayama went high to the face initially with that right hand, pulling back to exchange it with the left. He keeps the momentum in his favor and simply uses that to re-attack this outside right, push forward, never letting go with this left hand up high. And from here, it's going to be 1, 2, 3. Oh, but we can't get the push out. Good defense from Wakamotoharu here. And so it's that thing I talk about a lot in a lot of these videos, the push into the pull of combat. While you're pushing, they're going to defend by pushing against you. So how do you respond? You pull them and they're going to tumble forward down. And that's exactly what happens here. Kiribayama pushed him to the edge by the face. Now he's pulling back with the right hand on the elbow here, and he's going to use that and the grip on the face to step back and slap down. It's a concept that exists in all forms of everything, you know, water physics, warfare back in the year 200. You got to watch the flow of battle, the push and the pull of battle. Whenever someone's pushing, you pull back and vice versa. And you have to be sure to keep your balance the entire time. And the reason, sorry, I keep hitting my microphone. The reason I said water physics too was because I recently saw a video of a dog sheep herding, and the caption was like, wow, there's actually some like liquid physics here if you watch it from above. And it was kind of cool. And so that was the first thing I thought of. Next up though, we have Kiribayama going up against another Komusubi debutant in Kotonowaka.
Oh, big false start from Kotonowaka.
False start from Kotonowaka. Could be a mind game, could be nerves.
Here we go again.
But that is something to consider. Kiribayama getting caught with that inside left, but he's using his own inside left to try to push hard, using the outside right on the elbow, but now exchanges the grips, switches it up, outside left on the belt, using that to try to get a throw on Kotonowaka, locks in the inside right now, and from here, Kiribayama resisting the push up from Kotonowaka, who's trying to break the grip, going for the pull, throwing at the edge, and despite the fact that that was some good power from Kiribayama, that match was relatively 50-50 the entire way, but there were some incremental advantages that Kiribayama was able to snag that led to that victory. And we'll go through step by step right now. Tachi-ai, Kiribayama, hand up to the face, left hand low inside, and Kotonowaka exchanging left outside. Can't really see what the right hand is doing because, you know, we just don't have the camera angle to see everything going on. But once the dust settles on this tachi-ai, we see inside left grip for Kotonowaka, inside left for Kiribayama, and Kiribayama is going to be using this outside right on the elbow here to apply some pressure and force the grip to be broken. And so it's from here, Kotonowaka is pushing forward with this left inside, but again, Kiribayama right outside on this elbow, he's actually locking the hand in as well with this bicep. Like, oh my god, look at these arms, dude. Imagine getting your hand caught in that. Like, that, it's gonna get crushed. He also has hand up to the face of Kotonowaka. So that's 2 points of pressure right here on this left hand and on the face. That's going to force Kotonowaka to, or rather not force him, but to assuage the attack. Assuage meaning to like soften it up. So Kotonowaka here, he has good position, but Kiribayama has amazing defense. Because if Kiribayama doesn't flex these muscles right here, then this hand slips inside to the belt. So he's stopping this in its tracks, and he's basically catching Kotonowaka with his arm muscles. From here, though, he creates some space by shifting his hips backwards, as does Kotonowaka. And now, because his hips are back, his feet have a little bit more freedom. He can lean forward down. He can push up into Kotonowaka. Kotonowaka is tall. He has a big chest. And that's exactly how you want to tackle this big man. Excuse me again for my sniffles. Kiribayama, it's slow, but now because he's pulling those hips away, he's able to pull this shoulder back as well, get a better grip on this elbow, which again, later in the match, he's going to use that. Kotonowaka attempts to fight back by pushing forward, and here, getting into an odd position, Kiribayama is going to elect to release the grip on the face to pull back and then go for the inside right instead. Or was it the outside right? I forget, so let's take a few steps forward. He's going to pull that arm backwards here and scoop this left arm down inside. And it's that swing back and up to get the grip. And now it's not like this is an unfavorable grip for Kotonowaka too, because he could easily go for the outside belt. But it's what's going to happen next here that, again, small incremental advantages for Kiribayama against a powerful opponent. He's got the left hand inside. He's got the right hand inside. My mistake. Left hand outside for Kotonowaka. It's in that position that when I say it's dangling, it's because it can't really do anything. It's just out here in the open, just doing nothing. Whereas, you want it to be wrapped around. Kind of like how Kiribayama has it. Kotonowaka is trying to wrap this arm around, maybe try to get his hand under the armpit, maybe tickle Kiribayama's armpit a little bit so he can release the grip. But from here, it's solid footing, solid stances both ways. Kiribayama a little bit off though. You can see his feet are really wide. His hips are not really facing his opponent, but they are square with his feet, which means it's not a bad stance, but his shoulders are off. So he either needs to swing this foot forward so he can match, head to head, or he needs to kind of let Kotonowaka push so he can re-square these shoulders against Kotonowaka so he can start pushing forward with all cylinders firing in the same direction. So he does actually bring that left foot back. Like I said, he was looking like this, feet wide. Then he brought this foot back. Sure, the feet are not together, but they're pointing in the same direction. The hips are now pointing in this direction. Shoulders pointing in this direction. Now he's ready to square up and go head-to-head against Kotonowaka. Right hand inside on the belt, very important. Left hand outside for Kotonowaka, trying to wrap it in so he could do that arm breaker hold, pull this in, hyperextend the elbow, that kind of thing. That's the one grip that kind of makes me queasy in sumo, is when they straighten that arm. And even in my lower division top 10 that you should have seen already, when Enho counters Tochi Musashi's arm breaker hold, looks like he almost hyperextends the elbow, and that's again kind of what happening here, and that's what Kotonowaka wants to do here. He wants to pull this hand inside so he can force Kiribayama to bend this arm a little too much, force him to break the grip, pull it away so he doesn't break his arm, and get Kotonowaka the advantage there. But he does loosen that grip around the outside left, and now again, this is where it's dangling. It's not doing anything. Doesn't have a grip, It's just, he's not even has it on like the rib cage to try to get some support. It's just out there. And again, this is where Kiribayama has the advantage. Both hands of his are doing something to only one of Kotonowaka's. He's going to use this. He loosens the grip on the right inside so he can go for a pull and a turn with that left outside. It's a simple throw. But Kotonowaka counters it, gets that foot down. But again, Kiribayama, he's got square shoulders, square hips, square feet, all pointing in the same direction. Kotonowaka is off kilter now. Feet, hips, shoulders are not facing his opponent. And this is where it's easy to get thrown off balance. And this is where Kiribayama is going to try to fight for that inside right as well as the outside left. Kotonowaka slowly squaring himself up, and when he does, he goes for this lift up on Kiribayama, which usually you lift your opponent up like this so you can get them, in a worse position so you can, pick them up and push them forward. Of course, this isn't like a Tochi-no-shin grip where he can actually just physically lift this man up, but he's using this belt inside, and you can't really see what the left hand is doing inside as well, but you can tell he's fighting for it because this right hand for Kiribayama is probably trying to block, but he's using this to get Kiribayama in a worse position so he could stay chest to chest. And Kotonowaka, being bigger, having a bigger chest, having higher shoulders, means that if he can lift up Kiribayama, being slightly taller, then that means the legs are going to be straight. He's not going to have these, bow frog legs to be able to hold that stance better for him. These legs are going to be straight and he's going to be much easier to move. That's what Kotonowaka is going for right here. Kiribayama slows it back down and keeps trying to shift around to the side right there, which makes Kotonowaka lose the grip. And this is where Kiribayama, he pulls back. You can see the hand is on the belt a little bit right here, but it's mostly up in this left hand on the back shoulder. Going for the pull up so he can throw Kotonowaka outside of the ring, and he's got everything going for him right there. Kotonowaka does have the right hand on the belt and is trying to use that to go for a throw himself, but Kiribayama being the one to initiate the throw, this is kind of just a last ditch effort from Kotonowaka, which does not work out for him. But at the end of this, fantastic match both ways. A lot going on for both of these sumo wrestlers, but it was just Kiribayama, little by little, had the advantage. And even when Kotonowaka tried to pull it back into his court, Kiribayama used that to, regain momentum and go for the throw at the end right there. Fantastic match for both men in day 4. Kiribayama improving to 3-1. Honestly, should be 4-0 right here. But, we'll ignore. Well, I'm going to stop going back to day 1 for that. And I'm saying that mostly to cover for the fact that I completely forgot there was a Tori-naoshi and I thought Kiribayama won. Doing a lot of talking, so I'm drinking my water right now too. Tobizaru, his next opponent, Kiribayama.
Favorite because he's very creative.
And good.
Just like that. Very creative Rikishi.
Very creative sumo from Tobizaru. Now, how does Kiribayama fall for this henka?
Favorite because he's very.
He doesn't put either of his feet forward at this tachi-ai. He kind of just dives forward. Because we saw it in the first few matches. He would bring this foot outside, or he would bring this foot outside to try to get, a better stance, a better turn. But here, both of his feet are still back here. He's diving forward, actually just diving forward. And by the time he does pull that second foot underneath him, it's already too late. Right here, that second foot comes underneath him, but he's already tumbling. A combination of a bad tachi-ai and a good henka from Tobizaru. Not much else to say here.
Very creative Rikishi. Now.
I will say, Tobizaru, I think he should have kept the purple belt. I understand wanting to go back to the blue belt for better luck. But, yeah. It looked good on him,
One Piece card game.
Kiribayama versus Daieisho. Another situation of Oshizumo wrestler versus Yotsuzumo guy who can do both. And ignore my horrible looking face over here. Like, what is going on with my eyes? That was because I messed up the chroma key. And here we go. Kiribayama getting scooped up by Daieisho. Daieisho keeping the offense strong. And, well, Kiribayama really couldn't do anything about it. That was just 100% Daieisho sumo. And we kind of saw his defense that he tried to pull out against Tamawashi come into play here, but Daieisho is not an old man. Daieisho is just as fast, if not faster than Kiribayama. So when Kiribayama attempts to go, the outside, inside, it didn't work. And as a result, Daieisho simply pushes forward for the win. So let's see this again. Daieisho gets those double inside hands to the chest. Already a really good start. As we can see, Kiribayama put these forearms down and inside so you could try to push up, scoop away, and then probably try to fight with those two hands inside, because that's kind of the point of what he's doing right there. When that doesn't work, you see, again, tries to go for the outside right, gets pushed back. Tries to go for the inside right, scoop up on the arm, gets pushed back. Tries to go for the outside right, slap on the arm, gets pushed back. And it's just full control from Daieisho here. Hand to the face, hand to the face, hand to the face. Just over and over again. Boom, boom, boom. And the defense from Kiribayama just did not keep up. So final push out, it's Daieisho for the win, 5-1. Kiribayama 3-3. But at the very least, the good news is from here on out, it's going to be 90% of these matches Kiribayama is going to be winning. So at least it's going to be a little more interesting that way. After such a long breakdown of Kiribayama versus Kotonowaka, we had two really fast matches that were just Henka and lost the Tachi-ai. And, those could be arguments as to why Kiribayama maybe isn't the next Ozeki. Because, on those more faster Oshizumo guys like Daieisho, like Abi, if Abi can ever make it back up here, he does have kind of a disadvantage there. But when it comes to power versus power, even then, he was even, like maybe, 55-45 with Kotonowaka the entire time. So, and of course, you have to look out for those Henkas. So, we've seen the good and the bad of Kiribayama so far in these matches. And now we have him going up against Mitakeumi, who in Mitakeumi's own right has been looking terrible. Like, I have no idea what's wrong with Mitakeumi. Is he fighting through injury? Is it, I don't know. We don't know what's wrong with Mitakeumi. Is his sumo spirit broken after making Ozeki and getting immediately demoted? You never really know. And the sumo spirit thing is something I come back to because that's really just your confidence in your own abilities. And I've seen it happen live. Koto Shoho, he made it to the Makuchi Joy for the first time, and then he got like 3-12. It's like, okay, you know what? Now he's going to be at the bottom of the Banzuke. This is where he looked good. He'll come back, right? And then he got another double-digit losing record, and he just was in Judio for about a year, even though he was looking amazing in the top division. And it's a good thing that he is looking amazing again. And this is definitely something I'm going to cover when we get back to the Koto Shoho breakdown. But in terms of Mitakeumi, he's someone that's been really strong and powerful at the top for a long time. So you would never really have expected him to have kind of a mental collapse. But the rank of Ozeki does bring a lot more with it. It's not just a name. It's, like, you're the hope of the next Yokozuna. You are the future. You are the most powerful. And there's a difference between just that one rank of Sekiwake and Ozeki. So maybe his sumo spirit was broken after he realized, like, shit, I'm not cut out to be an Ozeki. So really don't know what's going on with Mitakeumi. But that's going to be the end of this aside here, because this is a Kiribayama video. And we're already 40 minutes in, and I've only covered 6 matches. Kiribayama, Mitakeumi. Kiribayama, Mitakeumi. Kiribayama down first. Mitakeumi gets really good double inside at the Tachi Eye, but the double outside from Kiribayama manages to break the grip as those hands are closer inside, gets the inside left after Mitakeumi gives it up, and now with both hands on the belt, going chest to chest, pushing forward, and solid Yotsuzumo from Kiribayama. Again, we don't know if anything is ailing Mitakeumi, and that's not to discount this victory from Kiribayama, but this is definitely not the most powerful Mitakeumi we've seen. It starts off with a really good Tachi Eye from Mitakeumi. He gets double inside right off the Tachi Eye, which is usually a death knell in any Yotsuzumo matchup. But Kiribayama is going to lock in the outside right on the belt, but it's so far inside that Mitakeumi's elbows are getting turned in an uncomfortable spot. So usually you want your elbows, like we'll use this guy as an example over here. You want your elbows outside so you can, use them as leverage to pick up and really get these arm muscles working. But when your elbows are inside, it's really uncomfortable, and you're just not going to get as much strength out of your arms because, these elbows are in, and you're not going to be able to get as much leverage when you pick up, because at this point, it's all the pressure is going to be on your forearms to do the work, whereas before it's a combination of your biceps and your forearms. So that is why you never want to turn your elbows in when you're lifting weights. That's why you never want to turn your knees in, when you're doing squats, that kind of thing. It's very dangerous and you can hurt yourself doing it. So in Kiribayama here, he gets these outside right grips, but they're so far in front that they're actually turning the elbows in of Mitakeumi, and when that happens, Mitakeumi can't really keep that grip. And you're going to see it with this inside right grip Mitakeumi has. He's actually going to pull it back because this double outside from Kiribayama is so powerful. And the other thing is too, Mitakeumi doesn't have a grip on the belt. These are his fingers facing us. Like this is his thumb over here. His hand is not gripping the belt. It's not gripping anything. So Mitakeumi, he needs to pull this right hand outside so he can try to get a grip on the belt, try to reset this bad position. And when he does, Kiribayama, immediately sensing that, goes for the big left around the back and uses that to push forward. And from here, it's 2 belt grips to 1. And even then, Mitakeumi still doesn't have a belt grip with this inside left because Kiribayama turning his elbow to the inside is keeping Mitakeumi's elbow too far inside, which, going back to what I just said about those grips, means Mitakeumi is basically at 0 belt grips against Kiribayama, who has 2. Moving forward, now exchanging inside left, outside right, but I don't know if and he's going to use that momentum to push forward and get an easy Yorikiri victory. So really, really good defense from the Tachi Eye from Kiribayama to turn that around in the first place and get the win.
Kiribayama Yorikiri.
Great receive from Kiribayama.
Very smart sumo.
Did much better at stopping the charge than Ryuden.
Here we go. Abi, similar to Daieisho in those lightning fast Tsupari up high, but they do have different styles. Abi is more of a go high, dive forward kind of guy, whereas Daieisho at the very least keeps his feet like a little bit more underneath him. It's a very slight difference, and I might just be making it up to sound smarter, but despite the fact that they have 2 similar styles, they are 2 different styles. That's what I'm trying to say. So Kiribayama, Abi, will Kiribayama have the same problem here against Abi, or will he overcome here?
On first.
Kiribayama actually gets the better push off the Tachi Eye. Abi with no resistance as he bounces backwards, which is really weird because I expected this match to go completely differently. So Abi, he does get those double hands inside, and Kiribayama blocks the same way he does against Daieisho. He brings these forearms down and in so he can go up. I think the difference here is that they don't meet chest to chest, so he can actually use these arms to scoop up instead of just getting sandwiched against his stomach and being unable to actually push those hands up and away. So when Kiribayama does push those hands up and away, he can follow up pretty quickly with his right hand. Look, he's already got the palm ready. He's coming straight up for the swing, and Abi, his feet are underneath him, which is not where he wants them. He wants this foot back so he can, lean forward into these thrusts. And that's what he does. He pulls back and tries to get the slap down here on Kiribayama, but it's not a full slap down attempt. He's not even trying to, bring this arm up to slap down on the back. He's just sidestepping, and that allows Kiribayama to catch himself from stumbling, and then from there, he's just going to push on through because, an Oshizumo wrestler needs his momentum going forward. And when they're going backwards, they can't do anything. So this entire match decided at the Tachi and really followed up on Abi's poor slapdown attempt. So again, right here, he just sidesteps. He doesn't try to slap down. He just goes to the side and kind of hopes Kiribayama will throw himself away, but that's not what happens, and as a result, again, he's going backwards as an Oshizumo guy. He's gonna get pushed out. So really poor sumo from Abi right there. Of course, good sumo from Kiribayama to get the win, to catch himself, but it's again one of those situations where it's more the other guy losing than it is one guy winning. And again, I've said this many times, not trying to take away from the win by calling it a weak win, but there are a lot of different circumstances that go into winning and losing. You can throw away the match yourself just by, touching the ground with your hand, or you can throw away the match yourself by, just performing bad sumo. That's not to say the other guy that beat you is bad, but it is a different scenario than, Kiribayama going toe to toe, getting the grip and pushing forward for the win. So next up, speaking of losing, we're going to have Shodai going up against Kiribayama. Shodai, 2-6, needs the wins to regain Ozeki. Spoiler alert, he does not. Shodai and Kiribayama.
Separated from the variety.
Kiribayama stepping to the side again at the Tachi, uses that to push forward with some Oshizumo of his own. Shodai stepping back for the slapdown as Kiribayama couldn't get the inside grip on the belt. And I think that's really where it came down to, because this entire match, we can watch it full speed again. Kiribayama, his shoulders are ahead of his feet, which as a Yotsuzumo guy doesn't happen too often. But, he, like I said, he was performing the Oshizumo, which, if you want to be good, you have to be good at both styles. But he is definitely more of a Yotsu guy, the belt grip guy. Going head to head against Shodai, maybe he didn't want to go for the straight belt grip game because he knew that Shodai is pretty good at that as well. But full speed again here. Kiribayama leaning forward, trying to get some good Supati, stepping backwards to try to slap the arms down and away, but that just allows Shodai to catch him and pull him back, knowing that those shoulders are too far forward. So let's go step by step here. Shodai actually gets a really good right elbow up to the face of Kiribayama, and that's going to send Kiribayama off to the side, which, again, this left foot went to the outside, so Kiribayama was going this way anyway, so he can try to get to the side of Shodai here. He's going to follow up this Not as quickly as he would have hoped, because he was blasted back by that right elbow. So now Kiribayama is square against a Shodai who is also square. When we saw this in an earlier match, he wants to get to the side so he can attack the side. But now, going square to square, going head to head, tries to get this inside right, or this outside right, but Shodai lowers the shoulder here, blocks it with an inside left, and now we even saw Shodai slap the back, try to get the slap down in the middle of the ring. So right here, knowing that, Kiribayama pulls the feet underneath himself and tries to recover from here. And that's how you want to counter the slap downs. You want to get the feet underneath you so you can't get slapped down. Gets the feet underneath him, goes from our Oshizumo up high, which Shodai, stepping back all the way to the Tawada, now, I mean, he's on the edge. This is where Kiribayama takes the step back himself, but Shodai keeps his stance. And we can see that it's just really quick, really small leap backwards for Kiribayama. And I think it's because you can kind of see it in this frame right here. He wants to try to go for the slap down by raking these arms down and forward, knowing, again, the push into the pull of battle. But it just doesn't work because he didn't have that much momentum pushing forward to begin with. So there isn't much momentum pulling back afterwards. Because of that, Shodai simply walks it forward into the middle of the ring, not wing, and is able to get the grip on Kiribayama. Kiribayama, again, has these feet way back behind his shoulders. Like, his shoulders are over here. His feet are all the way back there. He's begging to be pulled down, and that's exactly what happens at this next move. Pulls back, slaps down, Shodai with a strong win, and Kiribayama, honestly, that was some poor sumo. He tried too much in too little of a time against an opponent that is historically good on defense. That was, when Shodai was big and scary Ozeki. Barrett, would you leave the door alone? Yeah, I hear the people outside too. Leave them alone. I just hear him breathing really heavily at the door like, dude, relax. But anyway, Shodai, really good historically defensively, so I can understand why Kiribayama didn't want to go for a straight chest-to-chest battle, especially, again, against someone so big. Like, Shodai is bigger than Kotonowaka, so that would be a little bit scarier to go up against someone who is that big. But he really didn't know how to approach this match. He tried to use some Oshizumo into, that push-pull that I told you about. Didn't work. Nothing really worked from his attack, and, well, he got punished for not having a good game plan. Just poor sumo overall from Kiribayama.
He's slow to get off, and he's actually limping after that.
Here, though, this is where Kiribayama gets the free win against Hoshoryu, because Hoshoryu had twisted his ankle the day prior, so there actually is no match to break down here. Free win for Kiribayama.
We'll put him up to 6-4.
And we can just use this time to thank you all for watching this video. If you are this far into the video, please consider subscribing. And if you haven't already, please consider watching all of my other videos, because I'm not sure if at this point I'm going to need more watch hours, but as of recording this video, I only need 100 more watch hours to apply for YouTube partner, and if we get it, that means I can get some YouTube memberships, as well as the ability to be super chatted. And, that would just open up another revenue stream for me. So please continue to support the channel. Next up, we have, I can't read that name. Kiribayama versus Wakatakakage. Wakataka.
Trying to get the inside right,
Oh.
but the arm bar throw from Kiribayama.
I didn't say anything at full speed, but that's because I couldn't really keep up with my brain. Let's watch that again at full speed. Kiribayama, he's going to step to the outside, like he has been doing against other Yotsuzumo guys. And he's going to use that to immediately get a grip on the arm and pull back for the win.
Nice charge forward, trying to get the inside right, but the arm bar throw from Kiribayama. Charge.
Watch it again here. We've said it a couple of times, not every single match, but a couple of times so far. Kiribayama, watch his left foot, goes to the outside, steps from here out to here, and from there he's going to use this outside leverage to twist Wakatakakage in so he can get a grip around this arm, and from there he pulls back for the victory. Gets his hand to the ribcage on the left side as Wakatakakage tries to basically shoulder his way through Kiribayama. Like, that's something we used to see Takayasu do, but Wakatakakage is much smaller, a little less powerful than Takayasu. So when he tries this shoulder forward, Kiribayama is going to use the opportunity to get both hands around this left arm of Wakatakakage, or right arm of Wakatakakage, my mistake. And in doing so, Wakatakakage's arm is at the full mercy. That means his shoulders are at full mercy. And gonna step back. Kiribayama actually gets a good leg kick here as well. He's got the right or the left inside of Wakatakakage's right, putting it in a really awkward spot. And I mean, that trip also lends itself to the win because he's gonna kick it back up Kakenage style. Although it is more in the arm throw than it is that kick up. And Kiribayama is going to get the win.
Moving to 7-4.
Just right off the Tachi-ai, straight from that Tachi-ai, had his game plan, got to the outside, gripped the arm against a dude who is of the same size as him. And, until this point, most of his opponents have been bigger than him. So now that we've seen him go up against someone, the same size as him, of course, we did see that earlier with Wakamotoharu. Because Wakamotoharu. Because Wakatakamoto is in the 3rd division. I almost confused the brothers. But that sidestep does work when he goes up against, a dude of his stature. Now we have Kiribayama versus Takakeisho, the Ozeki, the Yusho winner. And this is definitely a match here that I think could forgive some of the earlier matches because, with an 11-win scoreline, one of them being a Fusensho, one of them being Abi just performing very poor sumo, those could be arguments for detractors to say, well, Kiribayama isn't as good as you say he is. And, that's very likely. I like to entertain that some of these guys are underrated, overrated, whatever it is. But Kiribayama is going to win against the Ozeki, the Yusho winner. And that's no easy feat. I mean, it's already no easy feat to get 10 wins as it is, let alone 9 wins if you do want to, say maybe he loses against Hoshoryu and maybe if Abi doesn't hop backwards, it's a better match both ways. But again, we don't know who wins that for sure. 9 wins is still amazing from this position. 11 wins with a little bit of help. But he also has to beat the Ozeki to get there. Because this is where Takakeisho should fall to 9-3. People say, oh my God, he's not going to be Yokozuna yet. But let's watch and see what happens.
Takakeisho with a calculated charge going.
Kiribayama gets to the side, gets that armbar throw for the 2nd day in a row. It was a little bit delayed because he took Takakeisho's charge head on, which is, it's wild to think about. Why would you want to take Takakeisho's charge full on? And that goes into what we were saying last week about Takakeisho. His charges have not been as full head on as they used to be. He's had a neck injury and apparently was fighting through injury at this Basho as well and managed to finish with the Yusho. And so his charges forward have been a little bit more, careful, a little bit more calculated, more gingerly. That's the one word I like to use, your SAT word of the day. There have been 2 of those in this video so far. But, his charges have not been so all out powerful as they used to be. So that lends itself to, Kiribayama is probably more comfortable taking the charge, knowing that it's not going to be as strong as it once was. So from this Tachi-ai, Takakeisho takes the step forward. Kiribayama, he doesn't go to the outside just yet. He takes the step forward to meet head on. And he also dips the shoulder to try to get the right hand inside. Takakeisho tries to counter by, left hand up to the bicep so you can push away. Can't really see what the right hand is doing. But from here, this is where Kiribayama gets bounced up. And from there, he's on the defense, just like he was against Daieisho, just like he was against Tamawashi. This is where, after that initial charge, after that initial, bounce, this is where he's going to start to get to the side step. In just a moment, he's going to come to the outside, grab the arm, and pull down, just like he did against Wakatakakage. The thing is, though, the fact that he didn't do it straight off the Tachi-ai means that he probably thought he could take Takakeisho in this head-to-head, which, can't really say much about what these guys are thinking at any given moment of the day. But he does use this opportunity to counter inside. Takakeisho is able to step back, reset himself, and for the very short amount of time that it's Oshi versus Oshi, it is like 60-40 Takakeisho. But this is where pulls down, gets the arm, and from here it's already over. This freeze frame right here, it's over. Takakeisho, foot up in the air, 1 foot on the ground, shoulders way in front of the feet, which means the center of gravity is in front of the feet. Your base, tumble down to the ground right here. He doesn't even need to really continue to put pressure on that shoulder, but, I mean, you don't know what your opponent's going to do. You got to throw him to the ground. And throw him to the ground, he definitely does.
Only for a second. As
Kiribayama with a very solid sumo right here. Takes the charge head on, counters with a push to that right armpit to get Takakeisho off balance to begin with, follows up with a really strong throw. And that is the Kachikoshi for Kiribayama. Good sumo right there. But we're not done yet.
Straight into the dirt. And now those Yokozuna hopes are all but dashed. Onosho, the sole leader, as Kiribayama earns the Kachikoshi.
Next match. Oh, I didn't even get time to introduce this match. Midori Fuji versus Kiribayama. And again, because we know the final results of the tournament, we know that Kiribayama just wins every single match from here on out. But we still gotta, see why he wins. We gotta see how he wins. So from here, we see Kiribayama and Midori Fuji. Midori Fuji, much smaller than Kiribayama. So we've seen Kiribayama pretty much exclusively fight people that are the same size as him or bigger. So how does he deal with someone smaller than him? The answer is he gets the double outside, or the right outside, left inside, and as much as Midori Fuji is struggling against that strength, Kiribayama wrestles for, it looks like that right hand is inside as well, pulling back. Midori Fuji a little bit wild in his defense here, but Kiribayama keeping those feet underneath him, keeping his hips square, keeping everything square, head to head, trying to keep that double inside. That little elbow move to break the grip from Midori Fuji. And from here, it's just all about trying to lift up Midori Fuji so he can get those legs straight, like I said Kotonowaka tried to do to him earlier in the tournament, so he can go for the push out. Midori Fuji attempted a throwdown, absolutely would not have worked, and that mistake leads to the Kiribayama victory. So again, this match was a lot more even than I thought it would be. This was much like Kotonowaka, where it was very solid Yotsuzumo versus Yotsuzumo, when, you probably would have expected complete Kiribayama dominance with how highly I've been talking about him. But, it's not all strength that you need to win. It's about, the grace and the technique that you win with as well. And here, you also can't count out Midori Fuji. Midori Fuji is very good in his own right. There's, he's at Maegashira 3 to begin with, which is already insanely difficult to get to that rank. So, and it's not just from trickery that he's gotten up there too. Midori Fuji is not weak by any means. And of course, big strength can come in small packages. I think for the next video, I'm going to take Bear's collar off because it keeps jingling and I know you guys can hear it. But, you know, from the Tachi eye here, Kiribayama goes high. And it's kind of weird that he goes high and kind of gives up this chest, but he also does this far out left step again to try to get to the side. Inside right on the belt, probably trying to go for the outside left as well from here. And it looks like Midori Fuji is happy to oblige going for this left hand outside, but it gets blocked, and then Midori Fuji goes for the left hand inside. Kiribayama doesn't want that to happen, so he, instead of, you know, giving up that grip and trying to get the outside, he elects to grab the elbow, pull it up into his armpit, and try to make that left arm useless for now, as, you know, Midori Fuji kind of flails his body around. You're going to see his, like, watch his shoulders for a lot of this match. He's going to be constantly dipping them and bringing them up, and it, you know, it looks like he's throwing himself everywhere, but he really needs to throw these shoulders into what he's doing so he can actually, you know, use his full body strength to either pick his opponent up or try to reach for the belt. And that's what kind of makes this sumo wrestler look wild, is because he needs to throw his entire body into getting a simple belt grip, which, I mean, it's a lot of fun to watch, but then you realize how much effort he needs to put in just to do the same things that Kiribayama can do just by putting his arms down. So from here, we see, again, Midori Fuji trying. Midori Fuji is the one who's doing a lot of the movement. Like, sure, Kiribayama has a grip on the belt, but it's Midori Fuji who's constantly rocking back and forth. It's Midori Fuji who's, you know, shifting these hips in such a way to try to break this grip. It's him moving these feet so he can try to get more momentum somewhere, whereas Kiribayama is just trying to weather this storm. You see, Kiribayama is going to have the solid footing. He's going to have his hand on the belt. Can't really see what's happening over here, but from what we can see going on, it looks like they're fighting for the dominance on that far side, the side where the Gyoji is looking. So as it slows back down, Kiribayama is still trying to wrench Midori Fuji upwards. Like I said, trying to stand Midori Fuji up. And even on that little bit of a pull that he attempted there, Midori Fuji keeps the feet underneath him, keeps his own shoulders low, and as a result, Kiribayama, from here, you know, it looks like it would be really easy for Midori Fuji to step back and pull down, but he can't do that because, you know, he doesn't have the same strength as Kiribayama. He is smaller. I don't know how much these guys bench press, but I have to assume Kiribayama is stronger. So if Midori Fuji goes for the pull, well, Midori Fuji is also shorter as well, so these legs are already bent. If Midori Fuji goes for a pull, Kiribayama can simply shuffle those feet forward, and then he's just going to push up and straight through. So it's a delicate situation for both men here, where Kiribayama is trying to use this inside grip to pull Midori Fuji upwards, and Midori Fuji is trying to, you know, break that double inside grip because he's the one that needs the double inside to win. So it's a delicate situation here that Kiribayama, again, those incremental advantages. He pulls up just a little bit so he can shuffle forward, and he's going to do that over and over again. Pulls back so he can get a better grip on the belt. Midori Fuji trying to block with this, you know, this outside left. Kiribayama trying to stand himself up so he can use these legs, you know, as a lever to pull himself up so he can pull up Midori Fuji. But again, I am not a fan of these straight legs. I would much rather his hips be like all the way down here so he can use big knees, big legs, big hammies to, you know, pull up like, oh yeah, you know what I'm trying to say.
Midori Fuji. But it's kind of necessary here to try to break that.
The match slows down here, and again, incremental advantages for Kiribayama over and over, inside right on that belt. Right there is the big mistake for Midori Fuji. Like I said earlier, he could attempt a pull down, and in attempting this move right here where he tries to wrap the arm around Kiribayama, this is him attempting a throw. He's going to try to wrap the head, try to twist Kiribayama and throw, but Kiribayama shuffles his feet forward. The throw doesn't happen. And from here, all he has to do is move forward because Midori Fuji has already thrown himself way off balance. And Kiribayama is going to get out of there with his 9th win. Really solid sumo against the smaller man, Midori Fuji. Kiribayama versus Onosho, who is one of the front runners at this point. And Onosho, once again, a man who is really powerful on those Oshizumo charges. Not the same way as Daieisho and Abi are, where they mostly use their arms, but in the way that Takakeisho is, where it's more full-bodied charges, because, Onosho's arms are not as long as, Daieisho. So what does Kiribayama do here?
Onosho with a nice charge, but he slips.
That was a slow charge, and once again, big left outside step for Kiribayama to deflect him to the side. He steps to the outside and uses that to just turn Onosho to the side. Big outside left step. He's got the hands outside, actually, to contain the charge, and he's going to use this left hand outside to push Onosho to the side. And Onosho doing the same thing as Takakeisho kind of did here, where his charge is not as fully strong as head on as Hokuto Fuji's is. And that's kind of the style that those three guys share, is a strong, full, head-long charge into your opponent. But Onosho, his charge is not as strong. And then from here, that right hand gets slapped to the side, and his entire body is in a weird situation here. It's like he's throwing out his hands for some jazz hands or something, but his feet are not underneath him. And when he gets thrown off balance by the smack of Kiribayama, he has nowhere to go but stumbling down to the ground. Just really poor footing from Onosho there. And again, that brings up the conversation of weak. That was a weak looking win for Kiribayama, but a win is a win.
And Onosho was out of the race.
It was a vigorous charge, but Kiribayama was ready for it.
And from here, Kiribayama at 10-4 now shares the same record as Onosho, going up against Ryuden, who, not sure why this was the matchup exactly, but I mean, both men with winning records. Ryuden trying to get his 10th win. And again, one could argue that, these are weaker opponents. He went up against a Maegashira 8 and a Maegashira 5 in the last 2 days. He had a Fusensho victory. The thing is, though, he's still getting these wins. And it's not like there's much of a difference between Maegashira 5 and Komusubi. The rank, 10 placements on the rankings if you want to get super technical, like Komusubi 1 East versus, Maegashira 5 West. You count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. And, sometimes those placements don't matter too much. We've had Maegashira win many a Yusho. And, this is a much more recent example outside of sumo. But StarCraft 2 at IEM Katowice, the basically 20th ranked player in the world had to beat the 4th, the 2nd, and the best players in the world to win his championship. So, if you're hot, you're hot. If you're good, you're good. The rank, sometimes, some days, it doesn't matter. Ryuden could be firing on all cylinders here. Onosho obviously wasn't, in retrospect. But yeah, there isn't too much of a difference between, again, a Maegashira 8 and a Maegashira 1, or a Komusubi and a Maegashira 5. They're all very strong, very powerful sumo wrestlers, especially when some of those wrestlers are former Sanyaku themselves. They've made it to those high ranks. They know what it takes to get up there. And yes, of course, there is a massive difference between a Yokozuna and a Maegashira 17, because at those levels, 0.0001% and 0.00000001% is a massive, massive difference. So, You know, you can say Kiribayama had a weaker schedule. You could say Kiribayama went up against some weaker opponents. Technically, you could be right. But at the same time, you know, we also had Kageyaki at the previous tournament in the Yusho race, which is why he even fought some of the stronger opponents to begin with. So, you know, it also depends on the day. It also depends on the time, and it also depends on, you know, how these sumo wrestlers are feeling. And at this tournament, you know, Onosho was in the Yusho race. His match was pitiful against Kiribayama, but he was in the Yusho race. You know, that's not a weak opponent. He's fighting for the title. So coming up against this match with Ryuden here, Ryuden looking for 10 wins. Ryuden is a former komusubi in his own right. And even though he wasn't really that close to it before suspension, you know, Ryuden is still a very strong opponent here. And Kiribayama needs this win for that number 11 and for a possible Ozeki push. Kiribayama with the big left step to the side again, getting the left outside on the belt and using that to try to get the leverage, but Ryuden is fighting it with fire, fighting for dominance on this close side, but Kiribayama has the inside right. Ryuden, though, very powerful, trying to stop him by that elbow there, trying to use that right shoulder to stop Kiribayama's push, and once again falling into this very even Yotsuzumo head-to-head. Ryuden trying to pull up by that forearm, but Kiribayama pulling back so he can stay square against the side of Ryuden, and now it's slowing down Ryuden, keeping those legs bent, whereas Kiribayama is keeping them straight. Those hips are a little high, trying to wiggle those hips away. Ryuden solid in his stance, solid in his defense here, and this is exactly what I'm talking about. This is a fantastic match. Yotsu on Yotsu. Ryuden, Kiribayama stalemated here as Ryuden tries to get a better grip, but Kiribayama a skillful switch to the inside left grip, and now it spells danger for Ryuden, who's still trying to break the inside right on Kiribayama. Ryuden, that left forearm, is trying to put in the work to break that grip, but he's going to use that to pull, push, get better momentum, and at the edge, Ryuden will finally fall. Insanely good match from both men right there. And it's one of those matches where, again, it doesn't look like a lot is happening, but this is the most technical sumo can get. Belt on belt, very small, almost microscopic advantages building up to get to a point where you can push for that win. Kiribayama Ryuden here, definitely their best matches of the tournament, and we're gonna see it right off the tachiai. Kiribayama steps to the side, and it looks like Ryuden saw it coming because he shifts his shoulders and his body to face that way. And I'm not sure if they watch film on each other, but this wasn't unexpected for Ryuden. So as Kiribayama gets this outside left on the belt, Ryuden tries to counter by, inside right on the belt, trying to lower that shoulder so he can get it up under Kiribayama's shoulder, but Kiribayama getting lower as well. And now Kiribayama trying to get this inside right on the belt. And this is where a lot of the fight is going to be happening. Ryuden tries to square back up on Kiribayama, but Kiribayama using this outside left, and we're going to see this multiple times throughout the match, he's going to keep himself square against the hips and against like this bad setup from Ryuden. So like if we're looking from above, like, here's Kiribayama's head and shoulders, he's going to keep himself square against Ryuden's head and shoulders, which puts Ryuden in an awkward spot where he needs to push forward with just one shoulder, whereas Kiribayama can push forward with both shoulders, hips, and feet all facing the same direction. And that's the stalemate they're going to be in for quite a while. And even though they are moving around the ring, they're shifting their footing, like, again, Kiribayama trying to get even more to the side, and honestly probably could have loosened this grip to try to get a belt grip, on that back knot, which technically that's not legal, but it happens a good amount anyway, and nobody ever calls it. But he could loose this grip, get a better grip around the back. But you have to remember, again, Ryuden is no slouch. If Kiribayama were to release that grip and attempt a better one, Ryuden could instantly whip this hip back. And, now Kiribayama just doesn't have a grip. So Kiribayama elects to keep that grip as they kind of tango back to the middle of the ring. And for a long time in this match, we're going to see, this inside right get muscled in as Ryuden tries to counter it by, holding on to this elbow right here, trying to wrestle this elbow away so he could try to dive that right hand inside, or even just try to square up Kiribayama like he is right there. Kiribayama pulling around to prevent that from happening. And it's because Kiribayama does not want to go square to square against Ryuden. He needs to keep Ryuden at this off angle so he can have a better shot at winning. Because, again, Ryuden, no slouch, needs to be kept at this side where he can't put all of himself going in one direction. When he's going in this way, that left side of his is being left to waste. Whereas if Ryuden was square, head to head, pushing forward, chest to chest, it could go either way. So Kiribayama knows he needs to keep his man to the side for his best chance at winning. And again, he could try to go for this, this grip around the back. But now that I'm looking at it even better, he needs to keep the grip here so he could use this elbow to try to turn it in to break the grip that Ryuden has on the belt. And that goes back to what I was saying about, having your elbows turned in. Ryuden, his elbow is already inside, and he's got to keep his shoulder like this so he can have his elbow turned out from his body, instead of if he were to square up and his other shoulder was over here. Now this elbow would be turned in, and that would be a broken grip. So Ryuden kind of needs to stay in this position as well so he can keep his grip locked in on this belt, the outside right. Or the inside right. So both of these guys doing the same thing together, but for two entirely different reasons. Ryuden using it to survive, whereas Kiribayama is using it as his advantage here. And you can even see on this in the far side, Ryuden trying to break this grip by pulling away at that elbow of Kiribayama. So again, when he does pull this away, he can swing his body square up head to head and, get that chest to chest he wants. But Kiribayama, he's not loosening any of these grips. Kiribayama is keeping him at this odd angle. So when he finally does try to make a move, now it's worse off for Ryuden because he is finally squared up, but Kiribayama swings this arm from the outside to the in and has an inside grip on the belt now, which, again, they're still chest to chest, but Ryuden is still fighting on that inside. We don't know what's going on over there, and now that Kiribayama has this left hand inside, he's using it to push forward, and if Ryuden could get his own left inside, then they'd be exchanging grips. But Kiribayama, using that grip he had from earlier to keep double inside, is using this forearm to block out Ryuden from breaking his own grip. So a lot going on just on that right hand. If Kiribayama loses this grip and were to exchange inside left, outside right, Ryuden is bigger, possibly stronger. That's going to be more difficult for Kiribayama, so he needs to keep that inside right on the belt.
Now he's blocking the inside right with his left forearm.
And again, this is a very delicate situation because even though Kiribayama has the inside right on the belt, it's not the best of grips. And Ryuden, like I said live, if you could have heard it, he's using this left outside to try to push up that forearm to try to break the grip so he can get that exchange that he's looking for. But Kiribayama, using everything he can, just isn't letting that happen. Like, it's that forearm is digging into that little elbow pit of Ryuden right here. And you would think Ryuden being able to bring this arm around Kiribayama's could break the grip, maybe pull back at it with his hand, but he doesn't want to do anything too drastic with his hand because if he were to, then Kiribayama would be able to like straighten the elbow a little bit more so he can grab the whole belt instead of just that outer layer that he probably has, or even just, it doesn't look like he has a grip on the Sagari, but it's not the best possible grip you can get on that belt. So from here, Kiribayama uses the inside right, pulls away with that inside left to try to go for a slap down on Ryuden, and that's the pull before the push. The push is going to come right here as Ryuden is reeling to save himself. The push is going to come up out of Kiribayama, locking in a better inside left up high so he can push chest to chest and finally finish off Ryuden in very solid fashion. One of the best matches he fought all tournament, and Kiribayama can definitely hold his head high for those 11 wins. And again, I like to try to entertain both sides. You could say he had a slightly weaker tournament and matchup. You wouldn't be too far incorrect, but let's be real, nobody is having perfect Basho against all of the top men for whatever reason. So thank you very much for watching this video. I hope you had a good time with my Kiribayama breakdown here. Next week, we should be seeing, what do I have on my schedule here real quick? The lower division roundup should be coming out because the Banzuke comes out on Monday. Look out for that Banzuke news to see where all of these guys will actually be falling. And well, it looks like my recommended video here on the Kiribayama video at least is the Banzuke guessing that I did 2 weeks ago, where I accidentally forgot Meisei for about an hour, so I had to put him back in somewhere. But thank you very much for watching. If you want to keep on watching some more sumo content, I will have more coming out between Basho, and of course the start of the next Basho is March 12th. So be sure to catch that live here on my YouTube channel or my Twitch channel of the same name, Leo Dickinson Sumo. And if you want some more content by me, be sure to check out my other channels that should be popping up shortly. I have my long play channel where I just repost VODs from Twitch, which, if you want to watch me go play Nier Automata or Metal Gear Solid 5, that's going to be right over there, as well as my variety channel, which should be covering up my face in a moment, where I post a lot of goofy videos, like comedy videos, recaps of some of the games I've been playing on my variety Twitch channel. So if you like me, I have a lot more content to check out. And again, thank you so much for watching. Please like and subscribe, and well, I'll let you all know at the next Basho or on one of my YouTube posts if we make YouTube a partner, so we can have memberships and we can have some super chats and I can make more money off of the sumo and hopefully make this into something that I can just make money off of passively even better. So thank you for all of your support. I hope you have a wonderful time. Look forward to the Banzuke and 2 more videos. Next week's breakdown is going to be Koto Shoho with his 11-4 Jun-Yusho as well.